With the release of chapter 145 of the Frieren Manga in the Foundation Festival arc, Serie just introduced a ton of lore, how clairvoyance works, and dropped tons of nuggets of information that got the entire fandom screaming that everyone can YEET Serie because of their German name and abilities. Yes, we're talking about you, Ubel. In this video, we are going to be breaking down what Serie said and the likelihood of each character's involvement, from the person being clairvoyant and the person yeeting the great mage Serie, the feet goddess. Both can be the same person. What Yamada Kanehito has done this entire arc is play both sides of the fence. There is always a way out of the writing to explain how one way can work versus the other, leaving many doors open. This allows for an air of mystery of what can turn out to be true versus what ends up just being a red herring. Like any legends that happen in Frieren, there are always rumors that something that happened has a possibility of it not exactly happening the way it was told. Like in the Hero of the South story, in his fight against Schlatt and the 7 demon sages, his body was never found, and they could somehow still be fighting right now. I mean, they both have the ability of clairvoyance, which makes things pretty complicated. In the Great Mage Minas the Witch legend, who Commander Reve supposedly defeated, which led to him wearing an eye patch. Gazelle mentions a rumor that the fight actually ended up being a draw, and that the warrior might not even be Reve. That right there opens up a lot more speculation over Minas the Witch still being alive, and also maybe Commander Lowe, maybe there was someone else there as well. Both legends lead us to believe that at least one of these stories didn't happen the way it's being explained to us. It's one of those Frieren motifs that reflect real life. We already know that Monk's memories were wiped of the fight against the Hero of the South because Schlatt knew Frieren would read his memories. Why erase the memories unless they hold significant value in the future? And that future might be right now. Let's address the biggest mysteries that concluded with this chapter and how it applies to everything we know right now in the Frieren story. Serie gets yeeted with the old chopper of the neck, but predictions don't happen exactly like the visions, except that one time. That one time where the predictions happened exactly came from this guy, and judging by the back of him, that is the Hero of the South. There is no known perfected clairvoyance except on that one occasion with that character. Serie continues to explain that the better your clairvoyant ability is, the more likely the prediction you see in your vision can come true. However, Serie does mention that arrogance and another clairvoyant can change the outcome because all these mages that Serie gave clairvoyant spells to ended up getting yeeted. So, even though almost all of the great mage Serie, the feet goddess's prophetic dreams, lead to her being ended like this, the fact that clairvoyance is imperfect leaves the door open that something else can occur. Every single act Serie has done this arc, including bringing along everyone that goes beyond her expectations and imagination, and speaking with the Emperor by swapping intel, is to help foil that prediction. Besides knowing that her clairvoyance is imperfect and the enemy's clairvoyance is likely imperfect too, unless it was somehow stolen from the Hero of the South by the demons. The other large nugget of information that Serie gives is that most clairvoyant spells come from a clan going extinct during the wars in the southern lands. She also makes it clear that Captain Frase has physical features that look distinctly northern. The fact that the southern lands and the people are explained this way with how they physically look, this gives us a framework that the clairvoyant person that helps or does it, him or herself, is likely from the southern lands. The only 2 characters we know that are from the southern lands is Fern and the Hero of the South. With Serie explaining in this way that the physical features should reflect this clairvoyant person that is likely from the southern lands, all eyes are going to be pointed at anyone that looks like Fern or reflects some kind of features that may be some upcoming characters that we start to discover their backstory, maybe from the southern lands. If the Hero of the South is from that same clan going extinct, his physical features may be less reliable. So it really does just come down to Fern and her parents and what they look like, which is actually really difficult unless someone can point out certain features Fern has that these other characters have. From the purple hair, maybe her bigger eyes, maybe those chubby cheeks. Right now, that piece of information is currently unhelpful, unless we find out more about the characters being from the southern lands or having a motive to yeet the feet goddess. Another Southern Lens connection is possibly what this clairvoyant culprit might use as an ability. We know that Laufen can use Jillware, likely meaning silver in German, which is associated with silver streaks, symbolic of speed. If it comes out that Laufen is from the Southern Lands too, that could be another data point, but that has yet to be confirmed. The last big info that Serie gives to us is that she gets yeeted by the throat by surprise near the end of the festival ball. She couldn't sense them, so this person is either a warrior or someone that exceeds her expectation of capabilities during this current era. Note the choice of words of "or exceed what should exist in this era." This to me leads me to believe it's a demon! So let's start getting into some of the best fan theories out there. A lot of the reasoning people are using for said character to be the one that yeets our feet goddess has to do with the character's German name that includes the ability to do this. Most, if not all, the names used in Frieren are German. Most characters have a specific meaning and can have a theme behind them. On the hero side, characters like Stark, his name means strong. Eisen means iron. This clearly reflects their massive warrior strength and what their characters are known for. Himmel meaning heaven or sky, which contains a more elaborate meaning but hints at his heroism. So when it comes to the demon name conventions, well, it reflects something demonic and deceptive. Grausam means cruel or gruesome. Holt means dead or death. Lugner means liar. So a lot of the characters, they run on a specific theme and part of a group. So we have to take into account that their names might be a foreshadowing for this current arc. But before we hop into the theories of which Shadow Warriors and potentially a couple of Magic Special Forces members being the ones that yeet Serie, we have to start off with what we know about the naming conventions and apply it to Serie's most trusted allies as well. I'll just generally state a low to medium to high probability for their involvement of being the yeeter and or clairvoyant culprit. Also, the reasoning behind Serie's death being a betrayal or an undercover demon like Grausam can literally be applied to everyone, and the only two groups that actually have a motive that has been revealed that wants to yeet Serie are the Shadow Warriors and demons. So let's start with the Continental Magic Association's Fouch, Sense, and Ubel. As the most popular characters on the side of the Continental Magic Association that fans are pointing at that screams foreshadowing. Let's start with Fouch. Fouch's name in German means false, incorrect, or fake. There are some fan theories that use this as evidence that he is an undercover demon, Grausam, or is just a straight up traitor. Makes sense, given his shadowy powers that reflects the theme of his name. Also, like Sense, we know Fouch is also proficient in hand-to-hand fighting, even against warriors, so slicing our feet goddess would be a reasonable task. On the contrary take, Fouch's name actually has some logical reasons behind how it can mean false, incorrect, or fake. It's even like a contrary meaning to Ganal's name, meaning exactly and precise. So within the context of the Continental Magic Association, he can just be like a foil to Ganal's character. Once we found out that he asked Serie for the ability to mimic people's voices, that 100% reflects his name. It's an ability that represents the theme of his character. He is always tasked with hiding his presence, gaining intel from all the Shadow Warriors without any of them actually noticing him. So to me, these are more representative of the theme of his character, rather than that including a double meaning for like a betrayal of Serie. So since he is upfront and close with all the Shadow Warriors, listening over Iris and Routine, now he is listening to Werlos and Gorilla Dubs. Those are 4 enemies that he can use to trick and deceive the Shadow Warriors with, using their voices. Being able to replicate Gorilla's voice is also going to be tricky for someone like GoTP. Conveniently, this actually gives him an excuse if he does turn out to be Grausam, because you have to imagine that Grausam has the ability to mimic people's voices too. This is what I mean when I say Yamada Kanehito leaves multiple doors open. Narratively, I really prefer Fouch to make a name for himself, to be the funny unsung hero that constantly uses his ability to change his voice into someone else's to save Serie. I see Fouch as more of a naughty degenerate than someone that betrays Serie. Everything comes back to having a motive. Fouch's backstory and motives that would make any sense has yet to be revealed, unless obviously he's a demon. Also, does he look like Fern or the hero of the South in any way to be from the Southern Lands? I don't think so. However, because of his name, the proximity and trust level everyone has that rely on his intel, his threat level to Serie's death is medium. With Sense meaning scythe in German, she is another popular character associated with yeeting the Fouch goddess. Like Fouch, her ability and name matches the description of the person that can end up betraying Serie. At the same time, both of them are mana users, so one would believe that Serie would be able to sense either of them. What a lot of people are saying about Sense is that she is a pacifist, so there are contradicting statements that make us question her. Frieren says her hair smells like blood and that she wished for a spell to sleep soundly even if she yeets someone. In her defense, there are logical reasons against as to the reasoning people are using as evidence for her betrayal of Serie. Sense does say herself that she's never yeeted anyone. By asking for a spell to sleep soundly even after yeeting someone is someone that knows that has a guilty conscience and PTSD for these acts if she does end up doing so. When it comes to her hair smelling like blood, how many years, missions, and fights that has led to bloodshed has that hair been involved in? Way too many. We have to recognize what her position is serving Serie. She's out there trying to help save people's lives. That's generally their role in the community. Serie explains it herself, that the Continental Magic Association is deeply embedded into the cities and the rural areas. So that entire scene in chapter 132 from pages 12 through 14 seems more like comedic relief than anything that should be taken seriously. One of the biggest reasons is literally inviting an entire party that can 100% stop her in Frieren, Fern, Stark, and later resign. If Sense is trying to yeet Serie, it doesn't make any sense to bring along people that makes your operation significantly harder. She is the literal leader of the mission along with Fouch, and technically lineal. Like Fouch, we need a satisfying motive tying in a backstory beyond her potentially being an undercover demon like everyone else could be. Sense even goes as far as asking Dinkin about the plot against Serie. Sure, it could be Sense making sure he isn't a potential threat for her plan to yeet Serie, but it feels like such a narrative leap for it to make sense right now. So overall, her character screams more like the leader of the next iteration of the Continental Magic Association than betraying Serie. However, I will label her threat level to Serie as medium, like Fouch, due to her proximity and trust of Serie. Like any other character though, she could end up as an undercover demon. Now, we have Ubel, the red flags of all red flags that try to trick us with her green hair. Her German name means nasty, bad, or evil. Well guys, open and shut case. Alright, let's dive a bit deeper. She cuts just about anything with her Resilient ability, lining up with all the different versions of Serie's demise. These three characters, Fouch, Sense, and Ubel, are capable of making that cut, unless it's a big ass shield. That is currently something she needs to get over. Her backstory with her sister is still a really big mystery of how this all ties in. We've only seen her use a handful of spells, even though she's known for empathizing and copying the spells, but we only seen it with Ubel with Sorganel. So right now, it makes too much sense that she has some hidden abilities, like already being able to body double, using Megane's ability. We all know how long she spent time with Megane. She hasn't been able to empathize with him yet, and with Ubel, it took like 2 seconds. If Ubel finds out that there are clairvoyant spells that she can copy, it could somehow make sense for her to betray Serie to get closer to empathizing with this clairvoyant big goddess yeeting bastard. To me, Ubel seems to have the most logical path to yeeting Serie, motive-wise. Still, it's hard for me to see Ubel being the one to do it, as she's already struggling pretty hard against Routine, wasting much of her mana. To me, her threat level to Serie is actually low, because of where she's currently at in the story, in the midst of battle with Megane. But once again, if this undercover demon is Grossum, he can shapeshift into anyone, and probably at any given moment. When it comes to the naming convention of the Shadow Warriors, Yamada Kanehito does the opposite from their Shadow Warrior occupation. Their names actually are more literal than anything, like Wolf is Wolf and Gazelle is Gazelle. There are 3 Shadow Warriors that have the best shot at yeeting Serie, and that is the most obvious one in Commander Reve, with the German meaning of lion. Then it's Kreis, meaning circle, and Schritt, meaning step. Kreis and Schritt have a little bit more dynamic meaning to their name, rather than some of the other characters being a lot more exact. We have to take into account that Commander Lo tasked Clematis with organizing the Shadow Warriors to distract everyone else, while the undercover yeeting of Serie is happening, meaning most Shadow Warriors will be busy with most of the Continental Magic Association, including Frieren's own party. Then there's also the Magic Special Forces, looking to uphold peace. The only person not at that meeting is Kreis, which makes it pretty suspicious that he can be clairvoyant, or he just simply gets informed later on. Both Schritt and Kreis fight with swords, aligning with what would look like Serie's predicted death. I literally think of Kreis' name as his character coming full circle. He went from guerrilla warrior and adventurer being known across the globe that can never be forgotten because of his name being so wacky and out there, to becoming the literal opposite of that. I actually have a video for his character right here, but it seems like his character going full circle may mean is going straight back to Zion, aka goatee priest. I'm really hoping to see Guerrilla live on and help Zion and maybe change his ways, but it's setting us up for something disastrous. Schritt's name as Step feels like it can be taken in many different perspectives. It almost feels oxymoronical, as she's always drunk, so taking a step for her means something totally different. Her abilities and her connection to Guerrilla makes it a lot more reasonable to think they can be the ones to yeet Serie. A drunk person makes things a lot more unpredictable. We have to be cognizant of how these characters are utilized and how others treat them, with Werlos appearing to be the next strongest after Commander Reve, and Schritt seems to be more than meets the booze. Commander Lo is the one that delivered the Shadow Warrior missions directly to Schritt. We are not sure exactly what was written, but it was both Schritt and Clematis that helped run their meeting. And really, it was Schritt. Her being a drunk is a clear misdirection, as her abilities and backstory is shrouded in mystery. The fact that she doesn't even think of Guerrilla for their meeting is very suspicious as well, seeing that we are now sensitive to anything that can be seen as clairvoyant related. With Commander Lo as the German word lion, it's like he's the leader of his pride, being the commander. There may be more than meets the eye with this legend of the fight against the great mage Minas the Witch. So like the Hero of the South backstory, the backstory of Commander Reve may have some secrets there that explains why he was able to yeet the great mage Minas the Witch, in which he can apply that to Serie as well, especially if he has clairvoyance. If their goal is to end magic, it doesn't make sense that they would let Minas live on, unless, like the demons, they want to steal her memories and abilities too. To me, the grand motive for why the Shadow Warriors want to do this is because potentially magic can get out of control. Also, magic is associated with demons. And also, remember when Frieren and Fern fought Qual, demons may have the ability to adapt to the human magic. So as human magic and the goddess's magic become more prevalent and become more known, demons can use that knowledge and ability to adapt and use it against humanity. So there are various reasons why it could make sense for the Shadow Warriors wanting to get rid of magic entirely. And to me, it just always goes back to demons, because they have always been the biggest threat to humanity. For Magic Special Forces, we have to rule out Captain Frieza being the one to yeet Serie, based on Serie's prophetic dream, where twice she mentions that she already defeats her, and that the clairvoyant person is a person likely from the southern lands, in which Frieza is from the north. Right now, the most narrative impact in yeeting Serie has to be Kanone, and someone I'm already assuming she is lineal as well, because of her hair, how Fouch and Sense talk about her like she's very high up in the totem pole when Ubel and Megane get caught by Noi, and some other evidence that Kanone couldn't find any intel on the Shadow Warriors because she, as lineal, already stole it. Her German name means cannon, meaning she's probably a beast. If she is lineal, we already know she possesses the power to at least stun Serie for a moment by making her kneel. Due to her nature as Linneo essentially being a double agent, it makes a lot of sense that at least inadvertently, she can contribute to Serie's death. The word inadvertent can be applied to many characters like Fern too, who's going through her own little character arc of being bloodthirsty and impulsive. Also, Sense and Linneo got beef, so it might be fun to see them fight if they end up crossing paths. So on the Shadow Warrior side and the Continental Magic Association side, those are the characters I think is most likely, and those are the names that get brought up the most, I think, in the fandom. So let's move on to the potential demons. But first, remember Edo. Back when she was helping out Learned and Denkin get memories from Mach, she can read memories and transfer memories. While this seems like some rare and special combination of abilities, we at least know that a demon equivalent of Grossum can do something similar. The probability that many other characters like Edo and Grossum have similar capabilities, or possibly even masters of these mind reading, memory transferring abilities, is really high, that they exist currently. Knowing Edo's abilities is important because if a Schlatt and Grossum kind of character has knowledge or is close to a perfected clairvoyant ability, like the Hero of the South, and has knowledge of that mysterious fight against the Hero of the South, a human capable like Edo can figure out what happened during that fight. And obviously, if the clairvoyant mastermind that tries to take away our feet goddess ends up being a human, Edo or someone with similar abilities can help change the outcome of that as well. With a refresh of memories of a character like Edo, this leads us into the two main demons that are always brought up in fan theories, Schlatt and Grossum. Schlatt the Omniscient and Grossum the Miraculous. If Frieren can travel to the past and go back to the present, then that means it's possible that someone else can do it too. It's the fact that characters with the ability of clairvoyance and reading minds make this much more complicated if these time traveling people cross paths. Schlatt and Grossum make way too much sense and is one of the Frieren leading theories as to how they are impacting and manipulating a war taking place with the fall of the Empire, in which the Emperor keeps saying that they are in a decline, the Continental Magic Association falling apart, like how Serie just said, if she ran away, the clairvoyant person just ends up yeeting all the other lower mages. And it makes way too much sense for the Shadow Warriors to eliminate magic, because the demons, they get to keep theirs. Schlatt can see up to 1,000 years into the future. His clairvoyance is imperfect because he has multiple different visions. The Hero of the South, at least on one occasion, proved his prediction can be 100% exactly as envisioned. I pretty much talk about them in depth in this video here, but one of my favorite fan theories I've seen obviously has to do with Schlatt, with the 7 sages fighting against the Hero of the South being hidden. It makes a ton of sense that during this fight, they were able to steal and transfer the Hero of the South's memories and abilities. With Ubel's ability, we know spells can be copied. With Edo, we know memories can be read and transferred. With Serie's explanation, Schlatt and the Hero of the South's clairvoyance, we know there is a battle for the probability of the outcome they desire. What do demons desire? To live on, to not go extinct, even though that they're individualistic. I mean, they still want to live on, right? Something that the humans are getting closer and closer to after the fall of the Demon King. Sometimes you have to see who benefits the most from Serie being yeeted and from the Shadow Warriors eliminating all magic. And that to me is clearly the demons if humanity enters an era of turmoil. That includes an all-out war, like Frieren said, as the festival ball is the symbol of peace. And if that falls apart, humanity starts to fall apart. For Grossum, or a demon with similar capabilities being undercover, it's likely he can be undercover as a character like Fouch and Sense, or he can end up morphing into these characters later on. It's going to be quite the mind mess if the real Fouch starts using his voice changing ability too, if Grossum is actually there. I think there is an argument for Grossum being any of these characters, whether right now or later as Fouch, Sense, Commander Reve, or even Guerrilla Warrior. What most of these theories lack when it comes to the Continental Magic Association members is a natural motive that might only be explained after the fact of Serie's death. Hopefully that doesn't happen, because I believe Serie's too good of a character to yeet off. But like any good detective, you gotta pin a motive on the yeeter, which is why the grand conspiracy right now makes me think it's the demon's doing that will ultimately tie in Schlatt and or Grossum's doing. The Empire and humanity entering an all-out war, like Frieren said, because the festival ball represents the symbol of peace. That is the perfect opportunity for the demons to start taking over. With the Empire and humanity facing a civil war over magic or whatever the reason could be, the remnants of the demons will stand to benefit the most. Even Schlatt said 1,000 years in the future, demonkind would be fighting for their existence. And it's only been about a century since Schlatt died. This could be that first step towards demon revival, which means taking down every human that champions magic. So yeah guys, let me know what you guys think of which character do you guys think will end up yeeting Serie. It could be the same person as the clairvoyant person or someone else. And let me know if I missed out on anything with these characters or if there's a character I did not mention. Yeah, do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Check out my blog at otakusen.com, check out my second channel. And I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video.